a Playlyst original.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast,
where we review the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer your question, should I watch this?
My name is BJ.
And my name is Mitu.
And this week, we're watching Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on Paramount+, Mr. Throwback on Peacock, Dance Moms: A New Era on Hulu, and Love is Blind UK on Netflix.
So stay tuned to the end to find out if BJ is a Donatello, a Michelangelo, a Leonardo, or a Raphael.
Oh, I've never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
While I decide, how about you tell us what's happening with those turtles?
In Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on Paramount+, this show is set 2 months after the events of the fantastic film and follows Donatello, played by Micah Abbey, Michelangelo, played by Shimon Brown Jr., Leonardo, played by Nicholas Cantu, and Raphael, played by Brady Noon, along with their human friend April, played by Ayo Adebri, as they balance being teenage heroes and high school students.
So me too, as a fan of the movie, what did you think of this continuation of the story?
I loved it. I don't think you need to have watched the film, though I strongly recommend it prior to watching the show. But I think that this story picks up where they leave off with fun, with action, and with a really beautiful animation style.
Yes, this looks just as good as the movie. It's got that hand-drawn feel. Things are not like super smooth and fluid, but it works really well. And I thought what was cool is we see solo scenes, which is something I've never thought about with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it's a story that has been done for so long and in so many different ways and mediums that I like that they're trying this in this first season. It appears that we'll have a few episodes of them being alone and having to navigate things without their brothers. And I think that that's an interesting take because we're so used to them balancing off of each other, especially because they have very different skill sets.
And it lets us see more of their personality. We get to see more of Leo or Leonardo on his own and how he tackles situations. And what's also cute is that there are situations where he wants his brothers there, not just because he's concerned they're in danger, but like going to a costume party, he wants them to be an ensemble and make their entrance together.
And he had a lot of fun at their expense. When April was like, Leonardo, what happened? Why are you alone? His impressions of his brothers and what they did in the face of danger was very funny. And I think sets us up for other great episodes where I imagine we'll get that same thing from the other ones too.
Exactly. But I will say, I got a little confused because there's a bit of a jump in the story and I wasn't able to follow along, but I just went with it.
I agree. When we found Leonardo by himself, I was like, all right, I accept this, but I didn't quite understand how we got there.
But I guess that's going to be okay. It gives us more mysteries to uncover.
And it's funny, so you'll laugh along the way. When he walks into that party by himself and one of the partygoers goes, dude, where are your brothers? And another one is like, it's like seeing one Jonas. That made me laugh very hard. And then there's a scene where something is chasing him. Don't want to spoil it, but it's clear it's more interested in him than in April. And so he tells her, he's like, I think it's just after mutants. And she goes, I'm really sorry, but that's a bit of a relief for me. And just the way she delivered that line was so funny.
April was looking after herself this episode, and I respect that.
Whole episode did not take any risks.
I saw a little bit of you in her in this episode.
I did feel represented. This one was for the scaredy cats.
But if you get past that fear, we saw some really good action and fight scenes.
Yes. They made it so compelling, so fun. And I was scared.
And outside of the scariness, which I think you got to have some of the danger, they got to fight these threats. What did you think of seeing these turtles as teens navigating school and parties?
Okay, I feel like I need to amend saying I was scared. This is obviously a show for children, but what I'm saying is I was nervous for Leo because the thing he was up against really seemed indestructible.
It was stronger than him, for sure.
Yeah, so that is what was scary. I just want to make that clear. For my fellow babies, this is not one that's like too scary for us to watch. I was just like, how is he going to get out of this one? But yes, it is adorable seeing them try to navigate the human world because in the movie, I mean, I guess spoiler, a couple years later, they have an opportunity to go to school and make friends and not just hide themselves away. And so it's very cute when they're getting ready to go to their first party and they Google it and they're like, okay, I think we're supposed to arrive 30 minutes late and we have to make sure our phone is charged because you don't want to be the guy who's always asking for a charger. It's just very sweet to watch them try to adjust to that life.
And I want to quickly throw in, I guess they couldn't get Jackie Chan back to be their father Splinter. So now Splinter only talks in, I forgot what they called it, but basically rat speak.
Yes, vermin, I think.
Yes. Clever cover up.
I thought that was a smart workaround. Do you want to keep hearing Splinter speak vermin at you in more episodes of Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on Paramount Plus?
I don't think I need more vermin, but I will watch the Tales of the Turtles seriously. I thought this was such a fun take on continuing the story, and I really want to see what's happening with the other brothers. How do you feel?
I agree. If you loved the film like I did, I think you'll really enjoy this show. I will watch again seriously. This one is for Cartoon Hive. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. So how about we go from teenage mutants fighting bad guys to some basketball teammates reuniting?
And also some bad guys present. You're talking about Mr. Throwback on Peacock. Danny, played by Adam Pally, was so talented in junior high school that Steph Curry was his backup until controversy ended his basketball career early. Now, down in his luck, Danny turns to his childhood friend Steph for help.
So, Mitu, who would you say stood out to you the most in this cast? We've got some notable actors.
Two people stood out to me, with love to the fact that this is a cast of 3 main characters. So I'm so sorry. I thought Adam Pally was great in this too. But I really loved seeing Ego Nwodim as Kimberly Gregg, the CEO of Curry Up and Wait. I just thought she had some really funny lines in this. Mm-hmm. And there's a part where someone just says something sad. And she just says, damn, somebody get my boy on some SSRIs. And just the way she delivers that line, I laughed and laughed. And then the other person that stood out to me, and I should say that Adam Pally was Adam Pally. He was great in this, as he usually is, because he's a funny guy. But I don't know that I saw something new from him, let's say. So I just was pleasantly surprised by Ego's performance, though obviously we know her as a very, very funny person. And then I was also pleasantly surprised by Steph Curry. I did not expect him to be as funny and charming as he was in this episode. I don't know that it is sustainable, let's say, but I did really enjoy his performance in this pilot.
I have to agree. He surprised me with his acting skills. I think it helps that he's playing a fictionalized version of himself, but he still held his own with 2 really great comedians. And I think overall, they made for this funny friend group that I believed, like, yeah, maybe they did hang out in childhood and they certainly would, have some banter and take little jabs at each other.
There's a part where Steph Curry turns to Danny and he's talking about Phoebe Waller-Bridge and he goes, "You ain't seen Fleabag?" And for some reason, the way Steph Curry said that just truly cracked me up. So I really liked the way that they played with each other. I agree. I bought this group of very unlikely people as friends with each other. And I think it helps that it's kind of a heightened, silly show, because then there is some flexibility allowing you to buy this group of 3 people as friends who grew up together.
And who have not spoken to each other for 25 years.
But just fall right back into being besties, just fully trusting each other and showing up for each other, especially Steph for Danny.
And speaking of the silliness, I think one of the parts of the show that I'm still wrapping my mind around is this weird blur between it being a fictionalized / real docuseries with a fictional version of real people like Steph Curry. And I honestly think it would have been better if the whole thing was more of a scripted show and they took out some of the real elements.
I agree. I couldn't quite put my finger on what wasn't clicking for me. And when you mentioned that before we started recording, that really kind of, I think, was the missing puzzle piece. I think knowing who Steph is, having just watched him win a gold medal this weekend for the U.S., it was hard to negotiate that very smart, shrewd, talented person with someone who could get tricked by this guy who's barely trying to rob him.
And I think similarly, what we know about Steph influencing our perception of him, I think knowing the types of characters and roles Adam Pally has played makes it hard to see Danny as this basketball star.
I guess for Danny, I cared less, and it was more my understanding of who Steph is. I was like, I just don't know that Aisha Curry's husband would just be out here this silly.
And maybe he wouldn't, but in this world, he can be.
And he is very silly and very funny in this first episode. I just want to underline that again. He was very charming.
So with all of that charm, will you watch more episodes of Mr. Throwback on Peacock?
I thought that this was a fine comedy. I laughed a few times. I don't know that there's enough story, let's say, that makes me want to marathon it or watch it again seriously. But it is one that I think I'll enjoy watching at lunch or while I'm cooking. And I would recommend that to Comedy Hive as well. I think this one will make you laugh. I don't know that it's just the top comedy out there. I think it's just a fine, solid comedy.
I agree. As someone who doesn't love comedies as much as me too, this one was fine. There's a great cast. It's funny. I think to me, the weak point is actually the setup. I think that could be improved. But overall, it's a would watch while eating lunch.
All right. Why don't you take us from one show about tough parenting to another?
You're talking about Dance Moms, a new era. And we're back with Dance Moms introducing a new coach, Glo Hampton, who wants to take her student and prestigious dance school to the next level. Coach Glo must juggle her tiny but mighty dancers, their scheming moms, and meltdowns, all while ruling with a tender but tough iron fist. So Me Too, what did you think of Glo and her dance school?
She has some big shoes to fill with Abby Lee Miller's absence. She notes that at the beginning. Actually, throughout the show, she makes clear, this is my friend of a long time. And I think in the meta of it all, obviously people really enjoyed watching Dance Moms. I was not one of those people. I never watched it before. But I recognize that she must have been feeling a lot of pressure because of how notorious Abby Lee Miller became. And I think she did a good job in this first episode. I don't know how to rate success on a show like this, but she was really mean to the kids and really mean to the moms. She was fun to watch in that sense, I guess, if you enjoy watching people sort of be mean to kids. So that's how I felt about it.
Similarly, I did not watch Dance Moms, but I think Abby Lee Miller became such a notable part of pop culture that it's hard not to be aware of who she was and what she did. I've seen clips, and I think Glo did a great job of presenting this rivalry, recognizing that she's the next generation of this show and will be compared, so kind of getting in front of that. And since this is reality TV and people want drama, I think she balanced being mean and coaching really well. And I like that she didn't hide the fact that she plays favorites, because Audrey is her favorite student and she's okay with telling everyone that that is a fact and lets them just live with that.
And she's setting Audrey up for the other kids to not like her. And she's setting Tammy, Audrey's mom, up / her best friend, for the other moms to not like her, to the point where the moms, I guess that's the other big part of the show, the moms and Dance Moms. They are very entertaining. At one point, they're backstage, and one of them tells Tammy, Audrey's mom, the primary dancer, they say, "Heavy is the head that wears the crown, Tammy." And then another mom goes, "But remember, she didn't win any crowns." Y'all are talking smack about a baby.
There's a lot of petty drama at the expense of 8 to 12-year-olds. We see that this team that's trying to compete for nationals is made up of children. And it is tough to see them under so much pressure from the training and the need to be perfect, as well as criticism from both Coach Glow and their mothers.
Yes, there's especially one very young dancer named Mina who at the time of filming, I believe was 8 years old. And there just isn't someone she can turn to, which was just so tough to see. Like, she wants mentorship and help from Audrey. Obviously, Audrey is a preteen and is glued to her phone and not interested in helping another kid. She turned to her coach, couldn't quite get the help she needed. And then she turns to her mom, who just tells her to just keep going harder. And we obviously see just a fraction of it. We are not seeing the totality of this child's experience, but it was alarming to see an 8-year-old just like asking for help and not getting it and then being berated for what ended up being a very good performance that they refused to call a good performance.
That is the tough part, because we see how hard all of these girls are working. We see how talented they are. And despite that, throughout the episode, Glow is comfortable not only saying Audrey's the best, that'll get repeated over and over, but she calls people out in front of each other, in front of their moms. She even ranks them at the start. She's like, I chose the 7 of you, but let me put you on a tier list to see who I really think is the best.
With photos of them. And we see 2 instances, a content warning for some of y'all. We see 2 instances where kids say that they're hungry or they want something to eat, and they are then not allowed access to food.
And I'm just going to be clear. Sometimes it looked like Mina's mom was about to snap her in half, trying to help her stretch.
When Mina said my knee hurts, I just don't think I hear many children say my knee hurts.
And I think it's Ashlyn who goes to physical therapy because her thighs are too tight.
Yes, Ashlyn dances 6 days out of the week, I think she said. And then one of the days out of the week has to go to physical therapy.
At 11.
It's just tough to watch. It is tough to watch what these kids, I guess, in theory, need, question mark, to go through in order to be the best, question mark. And so it's just, there's something to it that's very difficult to stomach. But the moms are entertaining as they snipe at each other, especially when it's at each other. Sometimes they do bully the kids. Sometimes they bully their own kids.
Everyone gets bullied on this show.
Yes.
Except Glow.
Glow just kind of bullied herself a little bit.
So with all of this bullying, me too, I'm going to reword it a little bit. How would you rate this show for fans of Dance Moms or fans of reality television or fans of, I feel like this is also a TLC-esque show?
You know what? That's the right way to put it, because I don't think it is a surprise to you. I am not watching another episode of this show. I do not like seeing kids get beat up verbally, seeing their bodies put through such difficult things. If you enjoyed Dance Moms, if you enjoyed Toddlers and Tiaras, if you can stomach this kind of thing, or if you like it going further than stomaching it, I think you'll enjoy this. It is entertaining. I genuinely laughed at some of the things the moms were saying to each other. There are moments that are so funny. It is just so difficult, some of the things you see the kids go through, that it is unsustainable. If someone made just a supercut of like the mom's shadiest moments, I would watch that in a heartbeat. But if you can handle the tough part where like people are yelling at children, I think you'll enjoy this show.
I feel the same way. I think Toddlers and Tiaras is what I immediately thought of. I'm sure this is just like the original Dance Moms, which I don't have experience with. I think the challenge is if you can get to the point where you don't want to reach in and save these children from all of the pressure and criticism, then you can enjoy the show because it is fun. The performances are cool to watch. The drama between the moms is petty and nonsensical but entertaining. And it is interesting to see Glow Hampton on this journey to kind of outdo and be better than Abby Lee Miller.
True. So why don't you take us from one nonsensical journey to another?
You must be talking about Love is Blind UK on Netflix, the show that answers the question, is love blind? And just like the American version of the show, we now have Emma and Matt Willis hosting this social experiment with British singles looking for love and to get engaged. So Me Too, we've seen Love is Blind. What did you think of this UK version?
It's really comforting to know that the people across the pond are also unwell. Sometimes it's like, is it just us? Is it Americans? Like, are we not okay? And it's like, okay, the world is not okay. Because some of the things that these people were sliding out of their couches, getting emotional over, I was like, good. So it is sort of an international unwellness that is happening. But there were some standout couples. For me, there was exactly one couple that I found myself rooting for, and that is Sabrina and Steven, especially because they are a bit older. I think Sabrina is 35 or something at the time of filming. Steven is 37, I think. They just seemed
mid to late 30s.
They seemed more mature, and they connected over both having lost grandparents that they were very close to, and they honored them in the same way. I thought that was very sweet, and they seemed to be very respectful in their exchanges. So they almost feel like the Browns of the last Love is Blind, where this feels more like a normal couple that you're rooting for.
Yes, they felt like the healthiest relationship we've seen so far.
Yeah.
We're only seeing glimpses of conversations, but they had the most balanced conversation. Classic story, gym owner meets someone in marketing. I like that throughout a couple days, we even see them resolve conflict already when talking about having children and what are some ways they would navigate that. And like you said, they're really the only couple we've seen so far that seems like you would want them to give this a shot. There's no red flags on either side as of now.
Yeah. And then why don't we just talk about some red flags like Ollie?
Ollie. Ollie is our player. He's talking to both Catherine and Demi. Catherine and Demi have both fallen for him. They're also friends. And so there's that tension as well of like, we both can't like him. But Ollie is not ready to choose. So someone is going to get their heart broken. And he doesn't seem too upset about that.
No, he seems like he actually enjoys being in the middle of a tug of war. There are many assumptions that felt healthy to make about Ollie and his approach to relationships based on the little bit that we've seen in this first episode. Though his exchanges with Demi introduced me to such fun British slang. Demi said something he liked and he was like, I rate that. And I thought that was so cute. And then she said something, I think she said she boxes and he does too. They had so many superficial connections like this in this first episode where they were like, you like cake? I like cake. Real exchange. I am not paraphrasing. And
cake is important, y'all.
Cake is important. Actually, I think cake is not as good a dessert as other options. But
so you wouldn't have matched with Ollie?
I wouldn't have matched. But basically, one of them is like, I like boxing. And Ollie goes, swear down. Like, he's just like thrilled and shocked that someone else might enjoy boxing. And then I think Demi was like, I'm vibes. And I just thought, that's fun. Like, I am vibes.
Sounds like a good way to be.
Yeah.
Although it's probably not working out for her.
No, not
yet.
In the romantic department, obviously, if she's doing this show.
She did say she gets friend zoned when she brings up the boxing.
Mm-hmm. And then we have another red flag attracted person. We actually saw her wearing a red dress so as to signify her oneness with the red flag experience. And that was Nicole. Because she connected with Benaya, and I thought that was a genuine connection, as genuine as it can be on this reality show under these circumstances. But then she also seemed to be the only person, and again, we're only seeing a fraction of these conversations, but she seemed to be the only person to take Sam seriously. And Sam, I think we could make a whole point about him. What an experience he was.
Sam is strange.
Okay.
And shows like Love is Blind, UK or not, need a Sam to spice things up.
Yes, the shows need Sam. The women should not be around a Sam.
No. And what's odd is I think Sam recognizes that something's off about him. He mentions that he even got a nose job and he wanted to prepare his physical image for the show. But then he also comes across really cocky, telling people, if you see my Instagram, you're going to think I'm an F-boy. You're going to be like hesitant, but you're so wrong about me. But he never explains why people would be wrong about him.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all. And then when Nicole asked him, how do you explain the story of your life? He said something about, if I wrote a book about my life, it'd be an epic story, something. An
epic love story.
It'd just be the greatest love story ever told. And she heard that and thought, that's so lovely. And then I think soon after that, she said, I feel like you're saying all the right things. And I was
yes.
like, Nicole, what right thing has he said?
It sounds like he used ChatGPT or got some sort of coach to give him lines, and he's regurgitating them, thinking that it makes him the best suitor.
I also think that some of these connections were wild with them all being shocked that they worked out.
A lot of them train. That is very common amongst them, but apparently that's enough for them to connect and develop feelings.
You train too.
No way. And my final point is, as an American, I really like hearing the wide range of accents in the UK. And I like that even the contestants could use that accent to kind of learn a bit more about the other person.
That's true. The accents seemed to give away where people were from, even like what parts of London or near areas. They were like, I could tell you're a North person, you're this, you're that. And I thought that was very cute.
So me too, will you watch more episodes of Love is Blind UK on Netflix to see if Steven and Sabrina end up together and to see what happens to Sam?
I would specifically watch for them.
Okay, I think that's good.
I think I'll watch again casually. I think this one is a little bit difficult to marathon, especially because some of the things people are saying are so ridiculous that I had to pause several times while watching. And so I don't think that's a sustainable way to marathon a show. What about you?
I would continue watching. I think with every season of Love is Blind, you need that one couple that sucks you in. Steven and Sabrina are clearly it for this season. And Sam is strange enough that I really want to know, will he make it to the altar with someone?
That's fair. All right. Which Ninja Turtle are you?
I don't know them well enough by name or color. So I'm just going to go with Leonardo so I can have swords.
Ooh, okay. I would think Donatello because he's kind of the nerdy techie one.
I'm offended by that.
Well, hopefully there are more episodes where I have not offended you that our listeners can find more episodes of the Pilot Podcast.
Where can they find those episodes?
On thepilotpodcast.com or on any podcasting platforms.
And you can follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok at thepilotpod. And every other week, we also take listener suggestions, or we want your thoughts and feelings, anything. You can email to askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Bye.